In this lecture, I will show you how to set up VirtualBox and use Ubuntu inside VirtualBox as your development environment for Hadoop. We need to install VirtualBox, and you need to download it if you don't already have it installed. And then you also need to download Ubuntu, and I'll walk through that. And then we're going to create an Ubuntu VM. You'll need at least 2 gigabytes of RAM available for the VM and at least 20 gigabytes of disk space. We're going to use a dynamically allocated drive, so it won't take up that much space to begin with, but it could grow to 20 gigabytes. Then we need to install the downloaded ISO into our new virtual machine and then install VirtualBox additions. So let's get started. So I have the VirtualBox webpage here. If you're not familiar with VirtualBox, I invite you to read about it, maybe read some of the documentation. But I'm going to just take you to the download page. You want to download the distribution appropriate for your host. It will work on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and even Solaris. I'm assuming now you downloaded VirtualBox and you have it installed. Next, I'm going to talk about the Ubuntu download. You want to make sure you get Ubuntu Desktop, and I recommend using Ubuntu 18.04. So simply click the download button and it'll start downloading the Ubuntu ISO for you. So as you can see, I have VirtualBox 6.0 installed. And I use VirtualBox a lot, so you can see that I have several VMs already created. But let's create a new one. In Mac, I have to go to the Machine menu and request a new machine. So let's call this machine Hadoop Ubuntu 2. Make sure that it's already set to Linux and the version is Ubuntu 64. We'll press continue and I'll bump that up to 2 gigabytes. I have 8 gigabytes available. I could allocate more and eventually I may, but for now let's start with 2 gigs. You can change that anytime the machine is shut down, but it does require that you shut the machine down in order to change the memory setting. Next, we're going to create a virtual hard disk, and I'm just going to accept the defaults here. Dynamically allocated, and 20 gigabytes. All right, so I press create, and now my Ubuntu machine is available. So we won't make any changes to the settings at the moment. We'll just start it up. And that ended up on another screen, so let me bring it over. You'll get prompted to supply an ISO. So I have the Ubuntu ISO already downloaded, so I can just select it from my history. If not, you can click the Browse button and go find the ISO. Then we just press start. Now I know this screen is really small. And we can change the settings to allow us to see it better. But let's let it, okay, it's booting to the Ubuntu ISO. I don't think I need it to have the microphone. So I can use the zoom feature. Let's see, view. So I can scale it. Let's scale it to 200%. That'll make it a little bigger while we're installing. So Ubuntu allows you to try it out, but we don't want to do that. We want to just install it. So let's click Install Ubuntu. English and English work for me. You can test your keyboard. I want to do a normal installation because we'd like to have a web browser and some of the Office software available so that we can just work inside the virtual machine. We don't have to go to our host. So that's fine. It's a new disk. We want to allow it to erase and install Ubuntu. And we're going to accept the changes. Set your time zone. And then you want to pick a name. Sometimes with the VM, we just make up a name for the Hadoop user. So we could say hdadmin. And then we need to give the computer or the VM a name, and I'm going to call it hdserver. And then we need to pick a password. So pick something you're comfortable with. And if you want, you can click Login automatically. You will still need your password, especially for sudo operations when we install Hadoop. So now the installation's in progress. I'll pause the video and come back when it's finished. So our installation has completed and we're asked to restart the virtual machine. So I'll press the restart now and we'll watch as the reboot process goes. So I've waited a while and it hasn't restarted, so I'm going to manually power off the machine. We can try sending the shutdown signal. I don't think that's going to work. So if we click close, it will prompt us about how you want to power off. So let's power off the machine and start it back up. Okay, so we can see the welcome screen for Ubuntu. If you're new to Ubuntu, you can go through the tutorial here. We'll just click through some of the setup or the post-installation setup. And there we have it. There's our Ubuntu desktop. Now you notice that if I resize the desktop, its size is fixed. And the screen resolution at this point is not that great. So we need to install VirtualBox additions. To do that, we can go up to Devices and Insert Guest Additions. It's going to insert a CD into the virtual machine, and then we'll be prompted as to whether we would like to run the executable that's in it. So I'll click run. It's going to ask me to authenticate. Hopefully you remember your password. It's installing a module to support the VirtualBox integration with the screen, the mouse, and perhaps other things that are being virtualized in the host. Okay, so it's telling us here that the running kernel modules will not be replaced until the system's restarted. So we need to restart the machine. We're also being prompted for updates. If you want, you can go through the updates, and you'll probably have to do a restart there anyway, so I'll do that. Again, we're going to get prompted for our password. And we can see the icon for the updater, software updater. So I'm going to let this run for a while. I'll come back when we're ready to reboot. So one thing I noticed is that even though we haven't rebooted yet, we get the desktop resizing as we resize our window. So that means we could go back to 100%. I think. Well, maybe not. So we'll have to play with, depending on your monitor. I've got a really large monitor, so I think I will go back to the auto scaled. Another thing we can do now is go full screen, I think. So now it looks like I'm just at an Ubuntu machine. So I'm going to go ahead and click the restart button. We'll see the Oracle VirtualBox splash. Maybe this time it will come up okay. So we're seeing the Ubuntu splash. And finally, the desktop. So with Mac OS, I can hover, take my mouse, hover up here, and I'll be able to resize the window, take it out of full screen. So the user experience is much better now. I mean, I don't think we had the mouse capture problem even before installing VirtualBox Editions. Something to note is the host key. For me, it's the left command button. So if I click the left command, it gives control back to the host. If I'm inside, it takes control back to the mouse. Knowing the host key might be important if things get stuck and you just need to escape back to the host. Okay, so we've installed VirtualBox, we've downloaded the ISO, we created our Ubuntu VM, and we've installed VirtualBox Editions. Next, we can walk through these host preparation steps for Ubuntu. I'm going to full screen my Ubuntu VM. We need to be able to get to a browser. We need to be able to get to a terminal. So I found the terminal. So we can add it to our favorites. Now it'll be over in the sidebar. So here we are in the Ubuntu shell. And I've already done the update, but I'll go ahead and do a sudo apt update again. It's going to prompt me for my password. So this did pull a few packages, even though we had just done the software update. Now we can prepare to install Java. We need to, let's test it. We have Java C 1.8. Let's set the Java home environment, but we need to find out where it is. Update alternatives. Okay. And then we can display Java C. Okay, this is telling me that we have Java C installed here. I'm going to create a soft link. So sudo ln-s to user lib jvm latest. I'm going to go ahead and install SSH. Okay, I'm going to set some environment variables. So bi etc profile.d hadoop.sh. We're going to set Java home equal to user local lib jvm latest. And we're going to set pdsh command type equal SSH. Okay. We'd like to set up passwordless SSH. If we do SSH localhost, it's going to prompt us for our to approve the fingerprint of the host we're going to, and I'm just going to type yes. It adds it to the host list, local hosts of known hosts, and then it's prompting me for a password. So we need to fix that. So if I look at my ssh.ssh directory, I don't see any keys. So let's generate our public keys. So we'll do SSH keygen. We will press return at the prompts. And if we look in our .ssh, we have id_rsa and id_rsa.pub. So the id_rsa, hold on. Is our public key, and we're going to cat that into the file authorized keys. So let's take a look at what's in our .ssh folder. So we've added authorized keys. If we cat, we can see that's our public key. Now let's try the SSH localhost, and we're in. So next we want to create a Hadoop folder. So sudo make directory user local Hadoop. We have to enter our password, and then we're going to sudo change ownership of user local Hadoop. And if we do, you should be able to touch a file, and fine. So there's the file. There's nothing in it. We can remove it. Okay, so now we've completed our host preparation steps, and we can move on to Hadoop install. Now I want to show you how to shut down your VM. We can use the UI, click the power off button, and power it off. And that'll take us back to our host where we see VirtualBox. I recommend you shut down your virtual machine when you're not using it to reduce the chance of it getting corrupted. So we've gone through all the steps for the Ubuntu host preparation, and we're ready for the installing Hadoop lecture.